prefer that we have 4 of us here. And Jay actually has an application for a 5th member, so I don't know if that'll happen. The approval will happen on 5th member before our next meeting, but it would be nice. And then we'll have the full complement of 5. So we're going to begin today with the approval of the minutes, and the minutes are the August minutes, and this just gives you some indication of how long it's been since we've met, since the committee has met. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes? We do have a quorum this morning.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the minutes from August are approved. No corrections to them, I'm assuming.
No, I don't see any.
Actually, the minutes were the October minutes, not the August minutes, but I was reading on here that, okay, I stand corrected. We just approved the October minutes. We did not meet in November and December because of Thanksgiving and Christmas. So the order today, and I've given this a lot of thought, and it's an easy task, I think, for us at this point. We've already prioritized the various groupings for the tasks that the Economic Development Zone Committee wants to embark on, and we've given them 3 different priority levels. And what we've yet to do is to assign an actual valuation to each of these individual tasks, but I think in the process of meeting, we have, for most of those tasks, an absolute monetary evaluation. So we really just need to connect the dots. We need to look at our task and the priority of the task. So what I'm going to ask is, and hopefully we all have a copy of the list of tasks, and if we don't, I've got a copy here and we can make copies of it. And we could go through them one by one, and let's try and make this a productive meeting and get through as many of these and assign a valuation to each of these tasks. This is going to become our action plan that we're going to submit to the City Council for approval. So it's important that we get these things as close and accurate as we possibly can, because this will actually be an action plan that we're going to submit for approval, and hopefully we're going to be able to do this. This is our January meeting. We'll have a February meeting. I think a good target date would be March. April are the budget hearings, right, Tim? Or
right, and you remember the council directed to have it by 1st, the plan
by March 1.
Yeah. No, by April 1.
April 1. Okay, so
you remember that. It sounds like the schedule you're proposing would meet that.
Okay, great. By April 1. So let's. I don't have my glasses on, so Jessica, you might have to help me with some of this, or Gary, either one of you. Okay, here is my list.
Are we going by the wish list items?
Yes. My list is dated July 20th. Is there a more recent list than that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then we'll proceed with this July 20th list. And the first, gosh, I'm missing a page.
Are you going by the minutes that we have?
Yeah. Do you have A1, A2, and A3 in your?
Well, A1 and A2 were kind of combined
Okay.
and kind of taken off, so to say,
Okay. So that's
because that's stuff that
I'm missing A1 and A2.
is being, well, it's right here.
Okay.
It's on page 1, but it's in the paragraph.
Okay.
Okay. Uh-huh.
All right, so the first project, A1 and A2 shuttle services. And we took that off the list because that's already been addressed and quite successfully. How is that working, Tim? Is it working real well? The shuttle service for the art strolls, and the feedback that I get is that they're very happy with the shuttle service.
That's my
Yeah,
understanding.
okay, that the art community has told me that, and Lila's the one that gave me that feedback, so she's the one that really organized that. So A1 and A2 are off the list, so A3 will become A1 now, and A3 is a banner program, and again, that's the one that has a lot of duplication in it, and I think that they don't need the committee's help on the banner program. I think we have two separate groups doing the banners and doing them very effectively. So we have Main Street Vero Beach doing banners. We also have the art community doing banners, and they're doing a wonderful job of the banners. And I think that we should scratch A3 from the list. And so A4 will become then A1. And that's the maps and the signage. And what a great place to begin, because what a nice way to introduce people to our community with the maps and the signage thing that we've advocated here. And we've actually got a projected cost of $3,995. And this would be a sign that would be, and is this the one that's
That's the three-sided.
Three-sided sign, okay, that would have possibly 7 locations, but we could, but it would have all of the points of interest in the city of Vero Beach on these signs, and it's just a great way. I've seen it in other places, and particularly for newbies and people that are new to the community, they see the signs and right away they know which way to go for City Hall or maybe the restaurant districts or the art district. Theater, that type of thing. So I love the idea of having that as a number one, and we already have this valuation of $3,995 for the three-sided sign. It's going to be a monument sign. It's going to be a permanent sign. I've not seen a picture of it, but maybe we can get a photograph online of what one of these signs would look like and submit the photograph together with the item and the budget amount. And give the council an opportunity to see what the sign might actually look like. Is there any other valuation associated with the maps and the signage that we've given?
Did you identify how many signs you were talking about?
Up
We
to
said
7.
7 possible locations, but I
but-
don't think we designated exactly how many.
Okay, and then 3,995 is the
Each.
cost per each.
Each cost, yeah.
That's if we went with the one that I found
From
online.
on that line, right, yeah.
Which we could probably find them for cheaper, but
I think we could shop it and we could sharpen our pencils, but for now, that's a valuation that's actually come up on the internet. Is a valuation that we can acquire these signs for today. It seems to me that we could probably do better than that, maybe even have a local sign company copy what we're seeing online and build something like that for us, and maybe even make it a volunteer project so that the infrastructure might be done, say, by a local contractor and the signage done by a sign company. So it would be an interesting and a very, very good project, a very good starting point for the committee. Item 2 would be the painted walking trail. And we've been also furnished a cost for this, and it could be emblems. And so we talked about, say, the hibiscus trail, and it would be just a stenciled picture of a flower. We could have maybe the alligator trail or the gator trail or something, but different trails designated just by an emblem that would be painted directly on the sidewalk, maybe together with an arrow, and we've been assigned a valuation of $5 per emblem. Mm-hmm. Is there any other thing that we can add to the walking trail?
I don't think so, not at this time. Not unless we added like a map or something like that to all the locations.
So the only other thing I think
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's a way to kind of maybe combine that with the Main Street map.
We have a map that Scott actually prepared with these walking trails on it, and that would be an excellent starting point because he spent a lot of time on it. And of course, Scott's right here on the corner of Main and Main, so so we could certainly start with that and tweak it and maybe decide on one trail initially, which maybe we can dub the Hibiscus Trail. Great name for the Hibiscus City. And maybe start with an initial trail and define specifically where that initial trail will be. So I think we still need to define the location of one or more of these trails, but certainly the initial trail. And the emblems would be $5 each, so if we had 20 emblems, we'd only have a $100 cost. It's certainly within the means of the committee to do that. Item 3, so A6 would now become A3, and this is a work in progress, but I think it's very important, and I don't think it's time to give in or capitulate yet, would be a time adjustment to make the State Road 60 crossings, and particularly at 14th, a little bit longer. And I don't know if that would be 8 seconds or 10 seconds. And Tim, maybe you could comment on this. I was actually given some information in Tallahassee, and they said that when you see the pedestrian side of the signal count down, and some of these have a countdown on it, so it'll say 11 seconds, 10 seconds, 9 seconds. When it counts down to 0, they say in Tallahassee there are still 4 seconds or 5 seconds remaining to cross. It's a safety factor that's added in there. So if we even added 8 seconds to the crossing time there, 10 seconds might be ideal, but some people may think that that's a long interval. And I know that Chris Mora has argued that if we start tampering with the crossing times here at 14th Avenue and 60, that we're going to upset the coordination and the synchronization of all the other signals that come before and come after. So what? I still think that there's a safety issue there that needs to be addressed, and we need to make the downtown area a lot more pedestrian friendly, and that is a rough area to cross. And believe me, I'm on 60 westbound lanes. I cross over to Center State Bank frequently, and it's not easy. You've got to hustle to get across those 4 lanes of 60. And I can't imagine a mother with 2 or 3 children and an elderly couple. It's just not accommodating, and it's not fair to many people in our population. So I really think that that's a huge item. I think it won't cost us anything, so I don't know that we assign a valuation to it. Would there be any costs associated with that, Jim, that you know of?
No, the county sets the times.
Yeah.
And, they coordinate with the Florida Department of Transportation.
Okay.
Yeah, our suggestion was, Monty and I have talked about this, maybe having a representative from the group go before the technical advisory committee to start that route.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I think FDOT would be very supportive of this. Mm-hmm. So, it's just a matter of we don't ruffle too many feathers to see if we can get this done. I guess that's what the approach is.
Well, there are 3 of us here. Do we have a volunteer that would like to do that? Counselor, you're an advocate. Would you like to do that? Or I know I put Jessica in the hot seat quite often, but
probably won't be till next week.
I could probably. I'm sure we could get that, right?
We can get
the accident statistics, yeah.
I assume there's no way of slowing down traffic as it hits that intersection, because one of it is people coming eastbound, timing the light, trying to hit it.
Yeah, I think they've done some speed studies over there, and the speed limit is what they consider appropriate, even though it could be lowered and still wouldn't reduce capacity on that road.
Is it 40, Tim, the speed limit there?
I believe it is, yeah.
So. Your microphone's not.
Your microphone isn't on, Terry.
Hello?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, it's on.
I'll bring it closer. So, Gary, is that something that we can get you to volunteer for, to make the presentation before the MCO? Would that be Tim, or?
For the TAC group, well, we could put something together for you. I mean, it's up to you all if
Okay.
you want to have, just at least some talking points. You could do it. Sure. It probably
Okay.
wouldn't be till February because they've just canceled their.
So February meeting, and
Yeah.
we've got Gary.
I'll talk to Monty. Yeah, Monty's got the.
And you could coordinate with Tim and Monty and get some good talking points on that, because that's really a great thing if we could get that through. And I think if we're persistent, we'll get it.
Can we request the accident records or speed records or whatever from the city, or do you have to do that?
Oh, we'll
we
get
can
it.
get them for you.
Yeah, well, we'll get that information. Don't worry.
I just want to make sure all of our bases are covered. I don't want to put anything else on Tammy. I mean, she's got enough to do. I'd be glad to write an email.
All right, A7 landscaping. So A7 becomes A4. Am I keeping track of this? I should be writing on my A4. And we've done, as I've commented in the past, a great job in the city of our landscaping. And we had a suggestion that maybe we need to just delete this item from the list. I think the city does an excellent job, and particularly in the downtown area around Pocahontas Park, and they exercise great care. The landscaping looks very good to me. Is there anything that we can add to this, or should we leave this, or should we remove it from our list? Is there any area that the committee feels needs more landscaping, needs landscaping enhancements? Are there any areas in the downtown along the 14th Avenue corridor, State Road 60 corridor, that need additional beautification in the form of landscaping?
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the fact that you're giving the city all the credit for the landscaping downtown. That really is a Main Street effort. They raised money.
I know.
We help support it. We put
Yeah.
in irrigation and that kind of stuff. But the fact is Main Street is a big.
So I'll backtrack, and I'm glad you said that. So the planters, both the hanging planters and the stationary planters on the ground, are a project of Main Street, and our committee, our design committee, led by Robin, who's a landscape architect, has just done a magnificent job. Those are sponsored by a lot of corporations, individuals. So when you see those plants and the cooperation we've gotten from the city, so what a great joint effort. The city brought irrigation to our planters, so now the plants survive, which they didn't do in the past. And it's an ongoing project. There are planters right now that need some support, somebody to sign on, and it's not very expensive. I think we have $125 planters, and we have some $75 planters, those smaller hanging planters, to sponsor those planters. So if anybody's interested, if people in your offices are interested, but because that's an ongoing effort that's been addressed very effectively, I'm thinking we should eliminate it from our priority list and allow Main Street to go on with her program and Robin Polensky to go on with her program, because she is well equipped with her knowledge and her experience to really do a better job than I think this committee can do. Sure.
Is there any way that we can maybe reword it, and maybe when they do the redesign of State Road 60, that we take a look at the landscaping when that is done?
I love that idea. Yeah.
Instead of having it be the planters and stuff like that, and have it be more of when State Road 60 gets redesigned, to take a look at the landscaping efforts then. And Jay has mentioned, the beautification committee that the city has, and, we are a tree city, and really kind of enhancing that when it does get revamped. Mm-hmm. So that's maybe a different way to word this and leave it on, just so that it's something that we visit and something that is remained a priority for us, and to kind of tie in the whole Tree City thing to when State Road 60 is revamped.
So, Jessica, if you could just restate that one time, just for the minutes.
Certainly.
For clarity on the minutes, because I think that's a great idea. We have some excellent renderings of the cross sections and the overheads for the State Road 60 calming project, which has already been passed by the City Council, and that could be guidance, so to speak. And I think it shows landscaping, does it not, Jay? As I recall, those renderings that we had for the
There are some
Yeah, they did some
landscape areas.
conceptual renderings, but again, this would be more of a longer-term project because this
It would
project
need to be removed from the A
Yeah,
section.
and basically you have a State Route 60 restriction in the 5-year. You might want to
Right,
combine
just-
it all in there.
exactly.
'Cause I
Okay.
think you should look at the overall design, the landscaping, and the parking
Right.
at the same time when these things come forward.
So let's move this A4 into
I think it's C2.
C2.
C2, or add it to C2 with the language that Jessica is suggesting that the Economic Development Zone Committee exercise some coordination and oversight over the landscaping portion of the traffic calming project that's already been approved by the city of Vero Beach. Jay, did you want to comment?
Well, Jessica brought up a really good point, and that is the Tree and Beautification Committee. Chris Runge did a presentation. He's the new chairman of the board there, or of the committee, and he seems to want to be a little more aggressive with doing some landscaping around the area. So it might not be a bad idea to get with them if you can coordinate. It can, garner some extra resources in getting some of these projects done. He's been pretty aggressive on this. I'd be excited to see what comes out of that group.
So we can add to that.
Him to maybe speak to us and see what his ideas are and what he's looking to accomplish and what we can do to maybe help him.
We certainly can invite him, and I think that if we do invite him, we should be prepared with the renderings and give him copies so that he can begin to look at them and maybe develop some ideas on it. And
I think he has his own plan and what he's trying to accomplish.
I think his priority is mainly to try to restore the canopy in different areas that had some damages in it. So he's probably looking for areas to, open areas to plant trees to restore that.
Right.
so it would be unrelated to the traffic calming project on State Road 60. He wouldn't
Jay, is it?
integrate on that.
I want to add to that.
Yeah.
Because look, we had the Cultural Arts Village thing going on.
Right.
There's got to be a little coordination here,
Exactly.
guy. We're
Yeah.
stepping all over the place. Jay, is it more? It's not. It's probably some of the other streets in the downtown area, right? That he's looking at. It's not just the Twin Pairs. They're talking about the tree
he is
canopy.
looking at the city overall, but
And that's one of the things the Cultural Village wants to look at, dealing with canopy trees down several of the streets. So.
and the point is you got extra people and extra
Yeah.
resources, and if you can work together, you can get something.
And as I pointed out,
Stretch
we
your
have a tree
resources.
replacement fund. There is money available to put on public right-of-way. And really, we haven't spent enough of it.
No,
Or you
good.
can, and there is room on the
That's
public
great.
right-of-way.
Tree
Some of it's
replacement
kinda
fund.
limited.
Yeah.
Mention
But I-
money available, everybody's pen goes to the paper.
There's money where? Huh?
Okay.
No,
Thank you.
the actual landscaping that has to do with the State Road 60 calming definitely needs to be tabled until a later
Okay.
date.
So we've
So
got it
anything
as
else?
part of C2, which
Yeah.
would be a much later date, and we can, at that time, actually coordinate not only with the Tree and Beautification Committee and get their ideas on it, but also maybe if we come up with a plan, tap into some of that tree replacement fund to fund some of that plan. So let's add that to C2. So A7 now becomes part of C2. Public safety, A8, and again, we, very fortunately, we have the support of our police chief. I've not seen the bicycles, Tim. Are they?
I think they've purchased them, right?
Yes, we have 2 of them on the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Weather, but typically speaking.
Okay.
And we sent the officers off for training.
Yeah.
So do we eliminate this item since it's been completed? This was the idea of having better patrolling in the downtown area, and one of the ways we thought we'd accomplish this is to have officers on bicycles that puts them closer to the community, and particularly during our events, it'd be neat to see them on bicycles. So we purchased the 2 bicycles. I think that's a great idea. Do we leave this in here and try and enhance it and maybe look at it and see what the effectiveness is of it? Or
I would not remove it. I think it needs to be an overriding, constant, in the front of our mind issue. Even though it's number 8, it should always be in unison with, you're trying to draw people in. You also want to make sure they're not getting pushed out by a negative. Downtown still has some problems. It just does. I mean, whether it's the food bank and, our office right across from the park, we see that presence after it gets dim and dark. It's still a concern. So I think we should always have it in the front of our mind is safety. I know there's, there was an incident just around from the high school. So that's in everyone's mind.
Yeah.
I think with that negative publicity in someone's mind being close to where we're talking, more presence is always good, and I wouldn't want to remove it from.
all right. So item A8 becomes item A4, and it remains in there, and there is no monetary amount assigned to this item. So we can move into item A9.
Do we maybe need to mention, as Tim just mentioned to me, maybe putting a value to the purchase of the 2 bikes, saying that they were about $1,500 a piece?
Okay.
Just to put,
Great idea.
If
Well, they
we
were
want,
publicly funded.
right?
Okay.
Just so to acknowledge that it wasn't a freebie. And there's
Is that
money
a
involved.
good value, Jim? 1,500 each. Okay. 1,500 each.
I just exactly. I just don't want that to be. Oh, well, we purchased 2 bikes and they were $60 a piece. They're very expensive. Plus the training that goes along with it.
No, that's good.
So.
That's very good. Yeah. Okay.
Have you attended any of the movies that are shown downtown? Have you gone to any of those events yet?
Well, I went to New Year's Eve. I didn't stay till midnight, but it was interesting, right, Jim? I think we'll do it maybe a little differently next year if we get a little more input, but that was for something that was impromptu. It was not bad, and it just shows you how much people in the city desire something to do, especially on our big holidays like New Year's Eve. So I think we could do a better job, though, than we did this year.
But I understand it was only planned in like 34 days or something.
Yeah,
So-
came together rather quickly.
Did a pretty good job for such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I had to give Susie credit for throwing that together. So, A9, alleyway improvement between the twin pairs. And again, Jessica, I know you've been involved in that. Do you want to comment on A9 or?
Well, I know that down on Scott's End, they've done a lot of road restriping and things like that have happened that have kind of calmed that area a little bit. There's not as many people trying to get 2-way when it's really only meant for 1-way traffic. I know that the middle part between 14th between 16th and 18th has room, most parts, for 2-way traffic. So does 18th to 20th. There's a lot more alleyway space there for 2-way traffic to work together and not have any incidents. My only concern is lighting at night. I know we park in the back, and if it's not lights coming from our building, it is quite dark, especially this time of year. So I don't know if there's a way for the city maybe to look at lighting from 14th to, because I know a lot of times now with people attending like Blue Agave and stuff like that, people are having to park in those back parking lots, and the lighting isn't that great in some areas. Thank you.
Just as a comment, we do not light alleyways. We do put in private, what is referred to as a private area light. If a business wants to pay for it, then we will put lights in. Now they have to pay for the charge for that light, and I think it's a rental charge based on the electric used. But there's just too many alleyways for us to start lighting those up.
So the parking lot that's, what is it, west of Dale Sorensen, is that a private parking lot or is that a city parking lot?
City.
City lot. west of Del Sorson. Okay, behind him.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a county lot in there as well, isn't there?
I believe the one she's referring to, Jim, is the one that's immediately west of that building. And I think they call it the Pineapple Building or something like that. That has Sorensen in it as the anchor. That parking lot on the west side, I believe, is a city parking lot.
Is that a parking? Okay.
I just know a lot of people park there and then walk, down
Right.
14th Avenue.
Now, we can light our parking lots,
Right.
which we have done, for example, at the post office and across from Jetson's.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, can you check and make sure that's a city lot?
Right there by,
I'm thinking Del Sorson, isn't that where the school and the county? I guess I'm just not familiar with the city parking lot in there, but it could be.
if I had my GIS out, I could take a quick look. Give you the answer, but we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. If it's a city lot, then we obviously light our lots.
And Jim, just while you're up there, that charge, the rental charge for businesses, what is it average, more or less? Do you know?
The size of the light that you have, and the answer is I don't know, but it's pretty reasonable. It really just covers the cost of the power and the maintenance of the light bulbs.
I know I've had them in different locations where we've been, and I have 3 at a home that we have in the mountains that I pay for, and I pay $7 per light per month.
That sounds about right, but I can't remember. But we do a lot of those around town, so there's a lot of people who have those lights.
And so does the business erect the light, or does the city erect
No,
the light?
the city puts it up, and it's ours. We maintain it,
Okay.
assuming that you don't want a decorative. Now, we have some people that want creative lights. They have to maintain those, or they have to pay us extra to do that because parts and that kind of stuff. But your typical street light, we will put it up, install it, and then try to find a location that doesn't interfere with traffic and that kind of stuff.
So, yeah, Jessica, I don't know if you got that part, but for your business, and I know where you are, you can actually have the city put the light up.
Right.
And the cost is nominal, when you
Right.
consider it's just added to your electric bill anyway. And I know I've had them in the past, and I'm trying to remember where I've had them, but I remember the cost wasn't much.
We have them around town. I mean, a lot of people have those lights.
I just know there are businesses that park along that alleyway, all along that. They park on the back side of their buildings because obviously there's no parking in the front. So they all park along the back, and there's just, the lights on the buildings. And when it gets dark, it's very dark in those alleyways, and people tend to, walk up and down. And there was a guy who pulled in our parking lot last week that had a flat tire and was there for quite some time. And so it was one of those things, you've got a lot of influx of people, they get a flat tire on State Road 60, they pull into the nearest place. But it is that safety factor that, we're just trying to make sure that, especially the pedestrians that are in that area, because I know a lot of people park in the parking lot that I was talking about to go on those, the gallery strolls and to go to Blue Agave and the parking lot there where the Melody Inn used to be. I can't remember what it's called now. That gets full very quickly, so they would park there and just have to cross.
Or the shuttle runs from the one at Jetson's for the art strolls. So,
Right.
and every time I've gone by, there's been vehicles in there for the art strolls.
It is.
But
It's nice
this could be a project, couldn't it, Tim? That could be funded from these funds, lighting up
Absolutely.
whatever you want to.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about,
Yeah.
Jim, because this would be under the purview of the committee, and we could certainly
Sort of like what you
fund
do.
a lighting project like that and have the city light the alleys, provide the lights, and then the committee would provide the funding for the monthly expense of the lights. That's really a great thing and a better way to define this alleyway improvement. Lighting is so huge and so important, like you say, and not just for our events, but for the safety of the employees that are in those buildings, that park behind those buildings at night. And I agree 100% with you, Jessica. So I think that the committee should take that on, and that should be one of our items, and it would be A5. And so the alleyway lighting improvement is the way I would define it right now. Alleyway lighting improvement. Yeah, no, it's a great idea. Okay. Gold star for
Because,
Jessica.
yeah, I can see that now. It's going to be Jessica's alleyway lighting improvement. Yeah.
We'll name it after you.
Great, thanks.
Okay, we're on the B items now. This is the 2 to 3 year projects and additional goal line stops within the zone. And I know we had Karen here talk about this one time, and is that still, I guess?
I saw the sign out there. They're up for, is that P&Z? They're up for approval?
Well, they've been approved at that
Okay.
location. So the question is, they are going to probably restructure their route somewhat. So when they finish their.
We'll leave it in there because the more stops we have within the zone, the better it is for the downtown area.
Right.
And so we should encourage that. So B1 will remain. Item B2, the special theme lighting. And, we really like this item. It is an expensive item, and we've given a cost of $7,500 for each of these lights, and they're the old style lights, cast iron, I believe. Is that correct, Tim? These,
I believe so.
Yeah,
Now, these are from our electric utility.
yes,
You got those numbers?
yes, we did, yeah, from Monty, yeah. That they're around $7,500 each, or they can be rented from the city for $20 per month. Is that correct, Jim? That the city?
I'm not positive of the number, but there is a surcharge for the decorative lights, but that sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Is a surcharge significantly less than the $7,500 actual charge?
Well, one is continuing charge, the other is obviously upfront cost. In my particular opinion, going to $20 a month is the way to do it, because then you have no more responsibility. The city takes care of it, changes out the lights, if something happens to it, then fix it, and that kind of stuff. If you pay for it yourself, then you could become responsible for additional charges later if there's issues with the light. For example, if it gets run over by a car or something like that.
What is the surcharge approximately? Do you know, or?
Those two numbers are what you have.
Okay.
$20 you're renting the light from us.
Okay.
If you do the $7,500, you're buying the light.
We buy the light, okay. So the $20 a month is the option that the committee wants to avail itself of. The city would do the investment, so if we said we're going to put 10 lights here, it'd be a $75,000 investment, and we'd pay the $20 a month. Okay.
We put in the number of lights that you want to pay for, and there's no capital upfront cost. It's sort of like the lights in the alleyway.
Okay.
If you take the rental, then there's no capital upfront. We install the light and maintain it.
And this is one that the cultural group are looking at the same kind of thing.
Right.
So again, that should be coordinated.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. And lighting, what a great project lighting is, and
Oh,
particularly
yeah.
this type of, pedestrian scale lighting. I love it, so. And not only attractive even during the day when the lights aren't on, because it gives the area a little bit of character, so. Okay, B3. Alleyway improvements between the twin pairs. This seems a little repetitive.
Yeah.
But we were talking about additional repaving and lighting, so we've already discussed the lighting part, and this is between 16th and 20th Avenues, a little further west, going out to where Jessica works. So I don't know, does that seem a little redundant, this B3, or have we already addressed this in A5?
Well, the lighting has been, but
Okay,
the
but not the
has
paving,
not.
okay. So we leave the paving in, remove the lighting, additional repaving between 16th Street and 20th Avenue.
I think we may have to, I don't know what the paving is like down in Scott's area, but we may want to make paving from 14th to 20th.
Okay, so let's make this from 14th to 20th. There are some
Alleyway.
potholes and things
Yeah.
back in that alley, I know, because I've been in it recently, and it could use some repaving, so.
I'd rather include the entire alleyway than leave one section out.
Once again, on the repaving part, Jim, is that something that the city would take care of ordinarily, the repaving of the alley, and particularly if there's,
Yes. We
Okay.
do paving of alleyways. As the it comes up as a priority in the funding.
Okay. So let's leave it in there without a dollar amount, and let's put a little note to prioritize with city. COVB, okay. Sidewalk widening. So Scott suggested the sidewalk widening project. Of course, he's right there in a key corner. And
that sidewalk area now juts out in front of his store, and I know it gets run over on a daily basis,
well,
probably.
the bulb out does, but
Yeah.
but I think what he's talking about is just
Actually
having
making
wider
the sidewalk.
sidewalks in it. What is our standard sidewalk? Is it 5 feet?
Where's the city's-
Usually,
I think you're right. I'm not positive on that. We have some real narrow sidewalks. I think our narrowest is about 4 feet.
Okay.
yeah, that's barely ADA acceptable. So 5 feet, Jim's right, 5 feet. I mean, 8 feet is a better or even wider if we could. But remember, talk about curbs and everything. It's an expensive proposition in the downtown.
But where the space allows for it, and particularly if there's any landscape strip between the edge of the sidewalk and the curb, that would be a really worthy project still. And for the reason that Tim stated, 4 feet is barely handicap accessible. People can have difficulty in wheelchairs navigating on narrow sidewalks, and particularly if somebody's coming the other way. So,
Just to give you an example, we got into this discussion over on Ocean Drive. And we started to widen those sidewalks because everybody said they wanted widened sidewalks. But we got in front of several merchants, and that was not a unanimous decision. So if you go down there, you'll see a wide sidewalk, a narrow sidewalk, wide sidewalk. Because people like the palm trees, they like the greenery, and this kind of stuff. It became somewhat of an issue. It wasn't an issue with me, because the only thing we had to say is no, and then we had more money to go somewhere else.
yeah.
But it just became, because we did meet with the merchants, and so it's one of those issues that people like wide sidewalks, but people also like greenery, and you get yourself into a little issue there.
So in the case, and this would be addressed to both of you, where a merchant might want to widen the sidewalk to accommodate sidewalk dining, how would that work if it's going to encroach within the merchant's right-of-way? Is it still something that would be doable? Could the merchant, at his own expense, then widen the sidewalk into his own right-of-way? Is that something, Tim, that...
Well, I mean, certainly if it's a doable thing from many different aspects, from the engineering aspects, you have a license agreement with the city, get a permit, you pay the money, it meets our standards, and it could be done. I mean, we have people building parking spaces in public right-of-way all the time now. So
Okay. All right, so it is
It's
doable. So a merchant can actually petition the city for wider sidewalks on their own right-of-way, maybe extend that sidewalk, maybe.
City right-of-way, basically you're building in, in the downtown, it's really close.
Yeah.
There's some buildings that are actually over in the right-of-way. I mean, that's how. But, basically you're getting authorization to build and use that, occupy that place. Like if you're going to do dining, we do permits all the time to do
Okay.
outdoor dining in public right-of-way.
The Kilton
Okay.
Bar may be an example.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, so do we leave sidewalk widening in here? I think we do. I think it's something that we want to encourage. We want to do everything we can for our businesses, our restaurants. And wider sidewalks are also a safety issue, as Tim has said. So, okay, that's item B4. So I think we're through the Bs now, and we're to the 4 to 5 year plus projects. And the first of those is C1, paver crosswalks. Any comments? Jessica, do you want to comment on the paver crosswalks? I like the idea of the paver crosswalks, but I'd like to hear from the committee, and I like the idea of the stenciled crosswalks that the city has already put in because they're a lot cheaper than paver crosswalks.
I think the stamp that they do when they actually repave is the best idea. It's not an actual paver. It's a stamp that goes in when the road is repaved.
Yeah.
And that was done at State Road 60, but not done at 21st. And you see the difference in how it really lasts a lot longer when it's stamped into the asphalt as opposed and painted, as opposed to the paint that just goes on and has an aesthetic to it, because it is wearing off on 21st.
The only question I would have on that would be ladies with heels hitting
You're
those.
certainly entitled to that opinion.
Sorry.
I feel validated.
That's Siri for you. Very sorry. I'm just going to turn my phone completely off. Wow.
I just get
Apparently she
attitude from a
agrees
cell
with
phone. But did you hear the tone in her voice?
you. She completely agrees with you. She's condescending at the same time.
So
I do. I think that when they remill, because Monty had mentioned when they actually mill and repave the roads, that is something that they can do, and it's a minimal cost to actually do the stamp when the road is repaved.
So that's why I'd like to change it from a paver crosswalk, because pavers are also high maintenance. They can erode, they can break, they can to that stamped.
So can we call it a paver stamp?
Stamp.
crosswalk?
What would you call that, Tim? Stamped asphalt crosswalks or something like that, or?
I don't know if it's just asphalt. I forgot what kind of materials, but just say a stamp.
Stamped crosswalks. Let's just say instead of paver crosswalks, let's make it stamped
Pavers are.
crosswalks, and definitely that's a great project and an ongoing project, and maybe will become part of the traffic calming project should that become a reality, and hopefully that does become a reality.
Maybe what we need to do is determine where the stamps need to be, or where we would like to see them.
Additional locations. We know we have them along 60, so determine locations. Let's put that in C1, determine locations. Okay.
Is there any plan on milling and resurfacing any roads at this time?
No, the last we heard is that the conditions of the road are still good enough. to
Well,
be-
not just State Road 60, I mean, any of the roads in our district.
Oh, I would know. I'd have to ask Monty. He's very- Yeah, I'm just aware of State Route 60. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Tim, that would be a good thing to look into. So, some of the smaller, like 15th Avenue, 16th Avenue, 17th Avenue, 13th Avenue, that type of stuff,
I'm
So,
sure.
yeah.
Because I know at the courthouse, I think they have a stamp or a painted on there around, around the courthouse area
By
as
the
well.
parking lots, yeah.
On 15th and 16th, and they're on 21st Street as well at 14th Avenue.
Yeah, when they're crossing a state road, it's one thing, but our county and city roads are a little different issue.
Right. So I'd like to see if there's a plan to mill and resurface any of those roads, because I know 21st is kind of bumpy right now.
Okay.
So at least then we could determine
Investigate
a priority for the stamp.
resurfacing plans.
I don't recall any of the 5-year plans, so. Just tell you that.
All right. C2, State Road 60 restructuring. And we do support the project, and we had spoken about this earlier, and we're going to leave it in, and this is actually a project that's been approved by the city. Maybe we should call it something other than restructuring. What is the official title of that ordinance that was passed, the traffic calming ordinance that was passed on?
They approved the study. It was a feasibility study. It would either be a state route, lane reduction, or traffic calming, however you want to call it.
Restructuring and traffic calming,
We
okay.
have not submitted the application yet for the.
No, we've submitted the resolution, but not the application.
Not the application.
Okay.
And what'd they say, Tim, it was 7 years out or something like that?
Oh, yeah, easily, yeah.
Okay.
7 years out from this year or 7
But-
years out from last year?
Oh, it's still 7 years out, probably from the, it's still on time. But we need to get the permit in because it'll run for a while, and then once money, they're ready to go, then we can move quickly forward. And then the question comes up, the landscaping enhancements have to come from local money of some sort, since they, okay?
But, Tim, it sounds to me like it's a moving target. I thought it was 7 years out from the last time that they repaved State Road 60.
Well, it's usually 7 to 8 years, but they look at the condition of the road, and if it's wearing well, they're not going to do it.
Okay.
See, it's that kind of thing. That's
So it
why,
is a moving target. It could be.
that's
yeah,
why I told
okay,
they need to put an armored division to go down the,
Yeah.
those heavy tanks. I'm telling you, we'll tear that.
Everybody, we're going to have a track hoe parade.
Hey, there you go.
Okay. C3, band shell. Now, this is something that the Press Journal has talked about, but since the band shell project has come up, and now the Press Journal's there, they had a wonderful open house. I hope some of you attended that open house. You know, the park is a busy place with Susie in there with her theater. How are you? Good to see you. The band shell's still a great idea in the park, and I could see where it would have definitely had some utilization for the New Year's party. We could have put a band maybe in there instead of karaoke singers, but I still like the band shell project, and it's something that the Press Journal has shown interest in, and hopefully we can keep that interest as sustained interest, and maybe they would even fund it. How does the committee feel about the band shell?
I see no reason not to continue to support the idea.
Right, especially if money's not coming out of our pocket.
It's something that we can push, and together with Main Street, it is a kind of a Main Street project as well. But what a nice thing. I mean, we keep borrowing the city's equipment for our bands, and it's great portable type equipment, but it would be really nice to have a kind of a more permanent venue for bands and other type of presentations. Doesn't necessarily have to be a band. It could be a recital or something like that. But I think that's a real worthy project. So we'll leave that in without a price tag. And we have gone in here to say that the Press Journal has had an interest in funding this project. So we'll leave that in as well. And it would not necessarily go in Pocahontas Park, but it may go somewhere on city property in the downtown area. So we're not necessarily married to a location either. C4, I guess, has been eliminated. I don't see it in here.
No.
Okay, so C5 becomes C4. Art displays in green space. And again, that's something that we said that we would certainly support as a committee. I think it would be more kind of the purview of the art district, and I think that they would love to put, and I'm thinking particularly sculptor, because that's something that's in most cases all weather. I like what they have outside of our art museum on the beach, and they have a lot of art on display outside. And it certainly is interesting to have that type of thing. So I think that would remain without a price. Any comments on C4 art displays in green space?
I just think we continue to support the idea when the probably folks in the other committees, like with the Arts Council, to kind of come up with a suggestion and provide it.
Yeah, when they actually, bring forward that Arts Village, I think that would really come to play.
Yeah. So it's something. So we've gotten through the list, and I really feel great about that. I think if we can get that kind of honed down to a list that maybe you could distribute to the committee, and we can have a look at it and sharpen our pencils and fine-tune it. I think we're getting a lot closer to putting together a submittal, and I think we're on schedule for this. Rosemarie, I see you're here. Did you want to comment, or?
I think I may have missed your discussion about the old power plant. Did I miss that?
We did not discuss the old power plant.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So
One question that we've discussed briefly, and I want to figure out again, what the process for like the signage, which is a high-ticket item, reaching out to local businesses for possible sponsorships where they might pay some, or in exchange for their name and placard. We talked about that as far as benches. Maybe we should figure out what the process is of putting that out to the local businesses to generate funds,
And
donations, and
Gary,
sponsorships.
I agree 100% with that, because that's the success of the planner program is because of local businesses. And so I really think we need to enlist the support of these businesses that are here in the downtown area. And I think they'll gladly become participants in whatever it is, in either the signage or possibly benches or any of the type of things that we want to do, the lighting projects, say. Local business support is very important, and it gets them involved and gets them engaged in our downtown area. So I'm 100% with you on that.
But I just mean, how? I mean, what's the mechanism? How do we do it? How do we let them know? Hey, we need X amount of dollars, and you can be a
It's not
sponsor.
like Main Street where they send out letters
Right.
to the businesses. We can't really
Yeah,
do that.
that's a good question. We have, and I could tell you, the Economic Development Zone has a list of all the businesses within the zone, and at last count there were 532. And we certainly have the ability to solicit those businesses, and I don't know how best to do that, because a mail out would be probably one way that we could do it. Just simply send a mail out that we know who they are, and that list was compiled by the city for the Economic Development Zone Committee, and it was Jim Kirkpatrick, I believe, that did it. And so all we need to do is keep that list updated, and it's a perfect list to send solicitations out to, because these are the 532 businesses that are within the city boundaries, city limits. Not the city boundaries. I take that back. I stand corrected. They are within the Economic Development Zone district boundaries. So there are approximately 500 businesses within that boundary, and those are the businesses, Gary, that I think we would solicit. And I wouldn't limit it to those businesses. Certainly somebody who lies outside of the boundary that wanted to be a participant certainly could donate their money, their time, their effort, and become part of our project.
Where do they send the check to?
Okay, let me step in here.
That's a good question.
The first thing is, before you do anything, let's get the economic development plan okayed by the city council. Okay. The other thing is, I'm going to have to talk to Cindy. Jim, I believe there's some procedures and things will have to be done before any kind of checks and all that. I mean, we've had, like the Buggy Group have been doing all these donation things. We need to take, but we don't have an actual 501c3 or anything. This is going to be the city, so I need to talk to Cindy about that and get some direction and and let her look into
That
that.
to be exact as to where that is to be spent.
Yes. Right. So, yeah.
So it would be on an item-by-item basis is what you're saying, Jim. So if somebody said, I want to sponsor a park bench project, they could certainly do that, and they could just coordinate with the city and write a check to the city of Vero Beach. And
we do that in our parks and stuff like
Okay.
that. But they need to be specific as to what it is that they're donating the money to. Otherwise, it just becomes a general fund donation.
But again, as Tim said, we might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here on this thing. I think we should stick to the plan. This is an action plan. This is part of what's required for a submittal to the city. And again, our deadline's April 1st. And I think as of our March meeting, which would be, what date is that? Do you have that date handy for us?
I have our February meetings, February 15th.
Okay.
So it'll be right around March 15th.
March 15th, okay.
Somewhere around
that would
there.
be a good target goal to give us 2 weeks of cushion. We want to get this thing finalized and submitted, so we're almost there, committee, and I thank you for your participation. Is there any new business for the committee? Gary?
Who is our new applicant. I know Jay said that he.
Jay has one applicant, and he had an application in hand, and it's the person that owns the business, I think it's called Mr. Smokes.
Across the street.
Yeah. And he said he's kind of a low-key individual, and he'd like to be a member of the committee, so he's put in his application. So hopefully we'll have a full complement when we meet again on February 15th. Is there any other new business? So keep in mind, next meeting, we will have election of the officers, and I hope we have 5, but if we don't, the 4 of us will meet next time, and we'll elect our officers for the year. And I thank all of you for being here, and if there is no other new business, then the meeting's adjourned. Did you have something, Jessica?
Did you need to speak on anything? Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious, you're not giving a recommendation, sale of the old diesel power plant?
No, we're not, Rosemarie. The committee is the Economic Development Zone Committee, and we're not charged with the sale of city property per se. We're certainly interested in cultivating economic development within the city, but that is now up for RFP, request for proposals, and both the power plant and the Dodgertown facility are under RFP right now, and that's outside of the purvey of this committee.
All right, I don't want to take a whole lot of your time, but I obviously missed the first 2 points. I came in when the band show was being discussed, and that was number 3 on your agenda, I think, or whatever. What were 1 and 2?
No, we prioritize our items as A, B, and C items, and the band shell was, let me go back and I'll tell you exactly. C3? Okay. So it's at the bottom of our list. It's a kind of a 5-year project, the band shell project, and it's a project that the Press Journal has said and shown some interest in that they may be willing to fund. And so it's there, but it's a distant project. It's in our C list, which puts it at the end of the list. Any other?
I didn't miss much then.
No, you didn't. You didn't. No. Glad to have you here, though.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anything else, Jim? Do you have anything, or?
No, sir, Bob.
All right. Committee have anything? Tim? Okay. The meeting's adjourned then.